Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
All right, on today's episode, we are talking about pointing out the elephant in the room. Okay, so that's the main subject, but what does that mean? How does it apply? How do we actually do it? That's what we're going to talk about today. The inspiration for today's episode is based on this situation that comes up at times. Okay, so when you first meet someone, usually the person is somewhat interested in training. Okay, at least they know what the process is. They're here to try it out. They're here to talk to you about their fitness. They're here to potentially sign up for a trainer. But sometimes there's a little bit of friction. Sometimes something comes up that makes us feel like this person's not interested or this person doesn't want to be here. Sometimes they verbalize it, right? It could be they say, "Oh, I'm just doing this because it's included in my membership." Sometimes it presents itself as not sharing information when you ask them about the goals. Maybe they say, "Oh, I don't have any goals," right? Things like that. That I'm telling you because that has happened to me. I ask, "What's your goals?" And they say, "Oh, I don't have any goals, or I just want to maintain," and it puts me in a really weird situation. Like I said, other times they're just not sharing. They're like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure," and it makes it really difficult. Other times, they say things like, "Oh, I just want to like figure out, like, I want to take today's workout and then do it on my own." Right. Which is also has its own other ways of dealing with it. And hopefully we can get back and do an episode about that. But and then another one that is common. So I'm telling you guys these situations that come up that are common. Sometimes the person that you're going to work with either has more experience in the gym than you do, especially as a new trainer, or sometimes they're just fitter, right? Sometimes whether it's the work that they put in, how long they've been working out, or sometimes just genetically, sometimes this person looks fitter. Sometimes they're very knowledgeable. Sometimes they work in a similar field where maybe they're physical therapists or maybe they're nutritionists, right? So whatever of all the things that I've brought up today, whatever that is, sometimes it makes that first conversation, especially when you're a new trainer, it makes it a little bit uncomfortable. It makes you hesitate, right? You're like, I don't know how to help this person. I don't know where to go from here, right? And so in order to deal with that, I came up with a very simple solution, and I call that pointing out the elephant in the room. Now, again, bear with me because we need to dig deeper into it. But the main idea is that you need to shine a light on the situation, right? Because if you don't, you're never going to be able to move past it, right? You're going to go into this conversation already knowing that you don't want to sign them up or that you can't sign them up or thinking that they don't want to do it or they're not going to want to do it, right? So it changes the way that you talk to them. It changes your behavior. It changes your exercises. It changes your attitude, or at least it can. Even if you try to not let it change, it's an awkward situation when you don't feel confident that this is going the way it's not that you want it to go, right? It's not flowing the way that you want it to go. I'm telling you because it's happened to me, and it happens and it's going to happen, right? As long as I'm in fitness, as long as I'm meeting people for consultations and signing them up, as long as that's true, this will come up at times. And so it is an important thing that we need to figure out and discuss and talk about and have a solution to. And this is not 100% guaranteed, but today's topic and today's message is going to help you figure out a better way to deal with it, okay? Because let's talk about the mistake that we usually make when this happens, okay? The moment that it gets a little uncomfortable, the moment that it gets weird, we have either like a flight response, a freeze response, or like a fighting response, okay? So when we do a fighting response, this is the biggest issue that we can have, right? And it's our way of trying to solve this issue. And I'm going to tell you exactly what a lot of you guys are doing. And this is the last thing you want to do. When somebody brings up an issue or a concern or a disinterest, what most trainers do is we get into this trying to prove ourselves mentality, right? So when they say, "Oh, I'm not really interested in training," we start listing out the benefits of training, we start saying, oh, but why not? This is going to help you. You're not going to push as hard as you're going to do when you work with a trainer. A trainer's going to motivate you. A trainer's going to hold you accountable. The workouts that a trainer do, we're more time efficient because we make sure that we use the time the best way. And how long are you working out at the gym? Yeah, an hour workout with me, it should only be 30 minutes. We start saying something along the lines of, you are wrong for thinking that, and let me tell you why you're wrong, and let me tell you why training is better for you. But what you've just done, and this is what people, and this is why today's advice is so important. What you've just done when you do that, whether it's in this scenario or any other, when you create that friction, what you're telling that person is, you don't know what you're talking about. And so you got to understand that they already might have not been 100% interested. And with you saying that, what you've cemented in their mind is, I knew I shouldn't trust you. I knew that you thought that I was dumb. I knew that you were going to try to sell me training, right? That's what they're thinking. The moment you create friction, the moment you fight them on it, you've just cemented another reason as to why they shouldn't do it, right? And so trainers think like, oh no, if I just say the right thing, if I just show them the right exercise, if I just show them, then that's going to get them to change their mind about whatever it is, right? Or, in the example I said of somebody who maybe is really fit already, right? And you're looking at them, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to coach somebody who's fitter than me. What do? We try to wow them with exercises. We try to, kick their ass to show them that the workout with you is harder than anything they can do on their own. Again, we're trying to show that maybe, they do need a trainer. We're trying to convince them through a workout or through just words, right? But again, that's not the best way to approach it. Now, the other responses are, freeze and flight. And I'm going to put them together because even though you don't really run away from the situation, you're kind of wanting to run away from the situation, right? So what happens is you're either going to just try to get through it as fast as possible. That's what most trainers do. Or they end up freezing. And what that means is you start hesitating, you start and stuttering and okay, yeah, so let's go to we're going to start with the barbell, and then and you start to freeze up, right? Because something is going on that's making you uncomfortable. It's making you doubt. It's making you almost like afraid of the person that you're sitting across from or you're training. So that can happen, right? Or like I said, flight looks like, I'm just going to forget the consultation, forget the assessment, forget talking to them, forget getting to know their goals, forget getting to know them, forget creating a friendship, forget, knowing their deeper reasons, forget all this, man. Let's just get to the workout, work them out for 30 minutes to an hour and be done with this because it's uncomfortable, right? That's another response that we have. But again, there's nothing, I guess, necessarily wrong with these responses because in a way, they're the ones putting you in a very tough situation, okay? Because they're not being cooperative, or they're being, resistant to the whole process and things like that, right? So, in a way, they're putting you in this situation, but you still have to deal with it, right? Because you can't be unprofessional. You can't say, hey, get out of here if you're not interested. Or you can't say, you know what, I don't want to work with you. If you do that, you're going to create a bad reputation for yourself. If you work on your own, you're risking getting a bad review. If you work for a company, you're risking, your manager having to talk to you, potentially being, shortlisted, I guess, for like potentially losing your job or not getting other leads since you're treating people poorly. So it puts you in a tough situation. And I understand that. And that's why I wanted to talk to you guys about it today. It puts us in a tough situation when the person that we're supposed to be working out for the first time is giving us some type of situation or issue. Okay. But the important thing I wanted to say first is just fighting them on it is not a great response. Freezing is not a great response, and trying to get through it as fast as possible so you can get out of there is not the best response. Okay. Now they're all valid, right? If you try to convince them, that's fine. If you try to, just get through it, that's fine. I understand that. But here's the thing. And this is this is the big, I guess the big benefit of getting through today's lesson. You can turn that around. You can give yourself an opportunity to turn this into something that has potential. Okay. Worst case scenario, that person might even leave you a positive review. Worst case scenario, you still had a great session with someone that may refer somebody else to you. Maybe it's still not for them, but if you do what we're going to talk about today, you're at least giving yourself an opportunity to sign them up or to have something good from it, right? At least it won't be negative. Okay. And that's the important thing. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking through my notes here, right? But it's important to know that you're not going to change their mind, and changing their mind is not the right approach. Okay. What is the right approach? Now we're going to talk about pointing out the elephant in the room. Okay. How do you point out an elephant in the room? And what does that even mean, right? When we say we're going to point out the elephant in the room. Okay. When there's some type of issue, it's like a giant elephant in the room. The reason why we say this is because most people want to keep having a conversation when clearly there is a giant elephant right here in the room. And when we say pointing out the elephant in the room, what that means is you need to be brave enough, somebody, for us to carry on this conversation has to look at that elephant, right? I'm talking literally. There's a giant, and somebody has to say, you guys, there's a giant elephant in this room. I'm not crazy, right? We all see it. And everybody else now feels free to go, yeah, I was wondering what the hell's up with that. That's weird. Should we figure that out? Let's talk about, okay. And now, okay, we figured out the elephant's here, but it's part of a circus. They're taking it away in 30 minutes. Okay. Anyway, what were we going to talk about today? And we can continue our conversation because we pointed it out. What a lot of people tend to do, right, especially in our be nice society, is that nobody's brave enough to point out the obvious. And so what happens is when that person is giving you friction, we pretend like they're not. When that person tells you that they're not interested in training, we pretend like they might be, or we act like I didn't hear it, right? When that person is not opening up and sharing their goals, we just want to pretend like, okay, well, let's move on. I don't want to talk about it. It's weird, right? But if you can shine a light on it, you're going to acknowledge their concern. And when you acknowledge their concern, this is going to allow you to get past this situation. Okay. But it's uncomfortable to do. Sometimes we feel like I'm not in a place to do that. But let me tell you this. If you feel in a place that you can convince them, if you're still going to go through with the workout, if you're still going to try to kick their butt with this workout, if you're still going to try to present them a package at the end of this, if you're going to do that, then you should at least bring this up too. It's going to give you a better opportunity for them to clear the air, for you to clear the air and move forward from an honest and sincere place. Okay. So how does this look? And why do we have to do this? Right. So when somebody says, let's say, I'm going to give you the different scenarios that we've been talking about today. Okay. And it's up to you to figure out how you're going to bring this up. When somebody, let's say, is not opening up, they're not sharing, right? They're not sharing the goals or whatever. You can just say, it seems like maybe you're not, fully wanting to share your goals. I'm getting the sense that you're a little hesitant to share your goals with me, and I understand that. I just want to make sure that you feel comfortable coming in, and you want to get a benefit out of today. Do you still want to do this? Do you want to get the benefit out of it? I just do not want you to be uncomfortable if sharing your goals and working out with a coach is something you feel uncomfortable with. Okay, that's the last thing I want to do. And now I've put a big old spotlight on what's going on. I'm not letting you get away with making me uncomfortable, okay? I'm not letting you get away with putting me in this situation, right? Because you knew when you showed up, because you didn't have to show up. When you showed up, you knew that we were going to go work out together. You knew that this was going to be about your goals. You knew that I was going to ask you about, what you want to achieve and why you want to work with a trainer. So now you're being reserved. So as a normal person, I should be able to say, hey, I'm noticing something here. I just want to make sure you're okay, right? I'm going to put a light on it, right? Because just like in friendships, right? Can you imagine you have a friend and you're starting to see that they're acting a little bit weird, different, If you're a real friend, you're going to ask what? You're going to say, is everything okay? I've noticed you've been a little more quiet today. Is everything okay? I've noticed you haven't really been getting back to us lately, right? If you care, you're going to ask. And that person may at that point share with you, or they may say, no, you know what? It's my fault. I've just been, something's on my mind, but you're right. I should focus, right? Or I should be getting back to you, or I should be more active. And then boom, now we're back to normal, right? So when you shine a light on that person's actions or them being reserved, you're letting them know, hey, I'm not just gonna just sit here and pretend like you're not sharing information with me. If you don't want to do this, like, it's okay. And again, I hope you guys can pay attention to how I do it, because I'm not just gonna say, if you don't want to do this, don't do this, let's not do this. But I may have to, just question and say, hey, do you feel comfortable sharing your goals? It's the best way that I can help you. If you don't feel comfortable, the workout's not going to make sense, right? So if you're just sincere with them about the situation, you're being honest, you're being helpful, you're being caring, but through all of these things that you're doing, you're also pointing out the elephant in the room, which is, we both know that you're being reserved right now, and I'm going to point it out in the nicest, kindest, most honest way possible. I'm going to point this out. And now that person is either going to have to say, yeah, I really don't want to do this. And then you can just say, okay, no problem. That I knew something was up. It was nice meeting you, but thank you so much for your honesty. The last thing I wanted to do was and at least you end in a good place instead of going through the whole process. Or maybe when you point it out, they're going to say, oh, I'm just not sure about training. I know it's expensive, and I know that I'm not going to be able to afford it. And now they're at least putting out there what's going on, right? Because now you can talk about it. You can say, oh, that's what it is. Okay, no problem. Then why don't we do this? Let's just do today for free. I won't even show you the rates. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. Okay. And what's going to happen is, again, because this is the bigger idea here, the bigger concept, the bigger lesson, the bigger benefit, is that now we can move forward into an actual consultation, into an actual assessment, until an actual first trial workout. Because now this is what happens when you shine a light on it, when you talk about it, and when you make them feel comfortable about their issue, right? You make it a non-issue. Now their guard is back down because they don't feel like you're going to sell them training. So let's continue with this example. If this person was not sharing because they knew that you were trying to sell them, and now you go, oh, no problem. If you want, I just won't show you rates. That way you don't have to worry about that. That person is now put at ease because you're not going to show them rates. Now they're going to be receptive to the experience. And you know what? At the end of it, they might ask you how much it costs anyway. And that's the beauty of having tools, you guys, and having different ways to manage different scenarios. Today we're getting a little bit deeper into, like, when I say sales and learning sales and having methods and reading about it and understanding it. Today is a very, very mini lesson in having tools and understanding how to deal with people. Because now I'm showing you guys that actually knowing what you're doing, not just training and hoping that they buy, training and hoping that they like it. Now I'm giving you guys, like, okay, certain scenarios require for you to take a different path in order to give yourself an opportunity to sign somebody up. And this is it. If I can point out the elephant in the room, if I can acknowledge their concerns, because maybe they're not sharing them, that's why they're being weird. If I can do that, and if I can find a way to put them at ease, because that's really why this is important. It's not just about shining a light on it and being like, hey, you're not sharing. What's up? No, it's more than that. I notice you're not sharing. Is there a concern? All right. Because again, you always have to be the nice person in this situation, no matter what, because as a trainer, you're here to help, and your only desire is to help them. So if something's getting in the way of helping them, I'm going to shine a light on it. I think something's going on here. I can't help you if you're not sharing. I can't help you if you don't want to do this, right? So what's going on? Oh, it's the price. Oh, it's I have an injury. Oh, it's my husband's waiting for me in the car. Whatever it is, at least it's out in the open now, right? The big old elephant in the room has been exposed. We've both talked about it now. Now I can better address the issue. And how can I make them feel comfortable about this? Once I do that, now they're going to go into the experience of working out with me today without thinking about that issue anymore because we already discussed it. We already dealt with it. I already told them that everything's going to be fine because I acknowledged what their concern was. Now I can go ahead and just go through my workout. I can just go through whatever it is that I was going to do. And the beauty of it is by the end of it, because they were actually open to the experience, because we pointed out what may be going on, now either they're going to see, you know what, I do want to do this. Actually, I thought I didn't. I thought it'd be more expensive, but you know what, let me ask them at least just so I know. And so even someone who said, I don't want to do this because of the rates, because I think it's too expensive, they might turn around and go, how much is this? Oh, okay. Is there any way I can make payments? There is. Okay, you know what? I'll start with a couple of months. I think I could do that as long as I can do some payments on it. Okay, great. And you went from someone who was not sharing with you, someone who had a concern about money, because I was willing to point it out, because I was willing to acknowledge their concern, put it out in the open, make them feel at ease about it. Now they were open to the conversation, open to the workout, open to sharing their goals, open to the benefits. And now they see the benefits that they would not have seen if the wall was still up. If the wall was still up, they would have never even trusted you. They would have never even told you what it was. They would have walked away. And this is another issue that we have. As a trainer, you would have never known what you did wrong. You would have never known why. And so what happens is now you're just like, oh, some people are just terrible, man. They don't want to sign up, or, some people just don't have the money, or they don't see the value. And you start coming up with these excuses. A lot of new trainers start to develop this I don't know, this bad taste in their mouth, right? This resentment towards training because they keep running into these situations where people are not sharing, people are not signing up, people are not showing up, whatever the issue is. And they keep thinking well, my training is good, so I don't see what the problem is. But you don't realize, well, the problem is you're not having good conversations. The problem is you're letting them, get away with putting this elephant in the room and not talking about it, right? That the issue is you're trying to convince them to sign up instead of listening to their concerns, right? So there's more to it. And if you have those skills, and if you reflect, and if you hold yourself accountable, you're going to be able to get better and realize, well, it's not that my training sucks necessarily, is that I don't know how to deal with these situations, right? So it's all of it. Of course, it's all of it. But yeah, so that's one example, right? Just an example as to how you can turn this around. Another thing that comes up is, people are just there because they just want to get a free workout, right? So they might just be kind of like, oh yeah, I just want to maintain whatever, or they might just come out and say, yeah, I just want to get today's workout so that I can learn some moves, right? So again, the best thing you can do is acknowledge it, right? So sometimes there's an elephant in the room, sometimes it just requires acknowledging what they're saying, right? So this is like a nut, it kind of goes hand in hand, right? If they're not talking about it and it's weird, you should shine a light on it. If they come right out and say it, then the best thing you can do that goes hand in hand with pointing out the elephant in the room is acknowledging their concerns and acknowledging their desires. So if somebody says something like that, the worst thing you can do as a trainer, again, is to change your demeanor, change your behavior, or to try to convince them that they need training, right? That they need to commit longer. The best thing you can do to get that person to believe in you and to potentially sign up and to have a good workout is to acknowledge what they say. So if they say, oh, I just want to try my free workout and learn how to do it on my own, the best thing you can do in that moment is learn to acknowledge and accept their reasonings. So if somebody said that to me, I would say, oh, that's great. Then let's get the most out of today. Get the best workout for you to do on your own. Now, as a skilled salesperson, I would go, now remember, there is plateaus that come up, right? You can't just do the same thing all the time. But let's do some moves and let's teach you, what you're going to need. And now, again, this is where skills come in, right? Now that you've acknowledged them, they're going to go, okay, cool, let's go for it, right? Their guard's not going to be up because they don't feel like you're trying to sell them. You're just like, okay, let's get you the best information today. If you're going to do the free one, let's give you as much as you need, right? So feel free to ask me any questions, but I'm going to ask you questions. And again, what I want you guys to realize is once you acknowledge the situation, you just move right back in to being a good trainer and giving them the best experience, because this is what's going to happen. somebody like that just wants the free session, if you don't lose your cool, once you start working them out, if you're a good trainer, if you can point out, hey, this leg is stronger than this leg. Hey, I see that you can't go all the way down. Your shoulder should be here. How do you feel about this? Da 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 da. If you are attentive and you are a good coach and you're not just having them do burpees and mountain climbers, this person might realize that they need a trainer. Again, that's the whole point of acknowledging their issue, acknowledging the situation in the beginning and shining a light on it and making it all okay, right? The whole point of today's conversation is what you don't want to do is not talk about what may be coming up that makes you uncomfortable, right? So if somebody says, oh, I want a free training session, and you feel uncomfortable by that, it's going to change your demeanor. It's going to change how you train. You might even hold back. Or this is a terrible thing that trainers do. You're just going to want to try to get them to throw up, right? I'm talking to you guys that do this. The worst thing you can do is to just try to kick their ass because they're not going to sign up. Or you cut it short because you're not going to sign up. What you guys are doing is allowing that issue to change the way that you behave. Whereas if you would have just given that person, if you just give them the best session and you acknowledge their reason and you are agreeable to that reason and understanding to that reason, and let them know that their reason for being here is completely valid, and people love getting the free training session, and I'm going to do my best to honor that and give you the best tools for this free workout. Since you only have one, I want you to walk away with all the tools you're going to need. So we're going to try to cram this information into this 30 minutes or 1 hour. And if you do right by them, you're giving yourself the best opportunity for them to sign up. A lot of trainers are missing out on clients because you're changing based on how they act, based on how they sound, based on their goals, based on their finances, based on their attitude, based on their fitness level. Based on that, you're allowing it to change the way that you should be training. You got to treat everybody as if they're going to sign up, and listen and acknowledge and honor whatever it is the reason they showed up today. And if you can do that, you're going to increase. But this is kind of a side point. The last example that I wanted to talk about is sometimes somebody shows up and they're very knowledgeable, or they look very fit already. And this can throw you off, okay? Especially when you did this over the phone, right? Maybe you're on a list of calls and you're just calling people to sign up for that free trial workout, right? A lot of corporate gyms do that. Or you're in a place like here, right? At Logic, sometimes people call or email. We don't know who's coming, right? They just say, hey, I want to come in for a consultation with you guys. We book them, but we don't know who's going to walk through that door at that scheduled time. And so sometimes you can be surprised, especially when you're new, right? Especially when you're new, or you're more into calisthenics and a bodybuilder shows up, or you're a bodybuilder and a runner shows up, or, whatever, you're recovering from an injury and then somebody comes in and they're in the top shape, but whatever it is, right? Or with nutrition, sometimes we train nutritionists, sometimes we train physical therapists, sometimes we train ex-bodybuilders. So, sometimes people want to prepare for a race, whatever it is. When you're new, because you don't have that confidence yet, you can be kind of thrown off by somebody walking through that door that looks like they don't need a coach. That's what I'm trying to get at, is some people look like they wouldn't get a trainer. Sometimes they look like they're a trainer, right? I've trained in my life. I've trained many people that could squat more than I could squat, that could bench press more than I could bench press, right? Sometimes people are just stronger, right? They're bigger, whatever it is, genetically, some people, just their body fat is at a level that, like, holy crap, but when somebody walks through that door, sometimes we start to panic, right? That fight, that flight, that freeze starts to happen. You're like, how can I help them? Do I have enough tools to help them? Are they going to respect me? So many things come through your mind. But again, this is why the pointing out the elephant in the room is so important. And on top of that, this is why the conversations that I have about consultations is so important. I just did an episode. I think the previous episode is called "What is a Consultation?" Right? So we need to dive deeper into that. What is that? Because I need to not only point out the elephant in the room, but I also have to have a good consultation in order to better understand the person that just came through the door. So I'm going to kind of combine those two ideas with this individual. Somebody comes in, it looks like they know what they're doing. Sometimes they actually do know what they're doing, right? So it can be many different things. Anytime I've done that, the first question that I ask this person when we sit down is I literally tell them this, you guys. I go, okay, you look like you work out. You look pretty fit to me. What brings you in? And I just point out the elephant in the room, right? I literally start out by pointing out the elephant in the room. You look like you work out. You lift weights, obviously. What do you want to get out of a training session? Or where do you need help, right? Or I might just leave it at that and joke like, "Hey, you look like you work out. You know, how much do you lift? How much, whatever, right? How much do you squat? How much do you bench press, right?" You might make a joke or you might point it out, I might say, "You look like you work out. How long have you been lifting weights?" I might say anything to acknowledge their fitness level, right? Because you guys, they know that they're in shape. So if you pretend like you don't see it, if you just go, "Oh, okay, welcome. Okay, so tell me about your goals." It's kind of weird, right? Because they're like, I don't really have goals fitness wise. I know what I'm doing. So my issue is I hurt my shoulder last week, right? So their issue might be different, but because I don't point out the elephant in the room, we're starting off in an awkward place, right? They're not being acknowledged. You're pretending like this isn't happening, right? So I personally always like to point out the elephant in the room. And then, if anything, it cements more why they're here, right? So if I look at someone and I go, okay, clearly you work out. What brings you in to work with a personal trainer? How can we help you? All right. Now they're going to go, well, okay, yeah. So I do work out a lot, but man, I am stiff. I had a lower back surgery. I'm trying to get back into squatting, but I'm so scared I'm going to hurt myself because, I work out, but I don't really know the techniques that well, and I don't know any mobility stuff. So I really want. Oh, okay. Boom, perfect. So we're not talking about weightlifting heavy. We're not talking about bodybuilding. You know how to do that. What you need is some recovery. You need some stretches. You need some mobility. You need some foam rolling, right? You need some like progressive overloading type stuff, right? Yeah, like you're not. So whatever it is, the point I want to make to you guys today is just to not be afraid to point out the elephant in the room. And these are just some examples, but random things come up, and you just want to feel comfortable enough to just say, hey, I'm noticing this, hey, are you worried about this? And then whether they verbalize it or whether you get it out of them, try to make them comfortable about whatever it is. Make it, and this is almost a whole nother conversation, but the concept here is you have to make it a non-issue. That's the bigger idea here is whatever the issue is, you have to put it out there. Why? Not only just to talk about it, but because when you put it out there, you can make it a non-issue, right? If pricing is the issue, don't worry about it. I won't show you the prices. So now it's not an issue. If how difficult it is an issue, don't worry about it. We're going to take it easy today. We don't have to do all the crazy moves. We'll keep it simple. Now it's not an issue, right? I don't really want to share because I feel a little uncomfortable sharing my personal life. Okay, you know what? Then let's just keep it to the workout. What type of workouts are you interested in, or whatever, or like what do you want to talk about, right? So now that's a non-issue, right? Or they might say, I really want to work with a male trainer or a female trainer or a younger trainer, older trainer, whatever, right? But okay, no problem. Let me go get Steve. Let me go get Jane. Not an issue. And boom, we move forward, right? Because at the end of the day, if that person wanted to train with someone else and they're sitting across the table from you, they're not going to open up to you because they don't trust you. They don't feel comfortable. Clearly, they're acting weird. So again, I don't know what the situation is going to be, you guys. They're all random little situations. But sometimes you want to point it out, I mean, sometimes you have people that really feel like they know more than you do, and that's probably also a whole nother episode all on its own. But again, if somebody was really intelligent and they're using verbiage, they're using language, right? They're using terms that a coach would use, or they're challenging your thoughts. Point out the elephant in the room. You can go, you know what? Honestly, it sounds like you've got it figured out. I really think that you know enough to get your results, So I don't know if I can really help you at this point, because it really sounds like you know what you're talking about, unless you think that there's an issue that I can help you with personally. I think you're a perfect candidate. You could even maybe be a trainer yourself one day, and you can see how I'm pushing back. I'm shining a light on it because clearly you want to sound like you know more than I do. So let's just put it out there. I think you know a lot. It sounds like you know what you're doing. It really does. I don't even think that I can work with you because it really sounds like you know what you're doing. I'm just going to point it out, depending on how much friction there is, and again, this last one I'm giving you guys, it's a very extreme and on the spectrum of one of the most uncomfortable things that can happen. I didn't even plan on talking about this, but, I'm in my flow now. So that happens as well. Sometimes people want to show that they know. The best thing you can do is acknowledge it, honor it, bring it up. If they're really going overboard, you can say, honestly, I think you've got it figured out. I don't know if there's an area where you really would need help. And at that point, they either are going to go, because at that point you're making them realize, like, why am I here if I really know everything? And so at that point, sometimes they'll turn around and give you a real reason why they're there, right? They'll go, because all they wanted to do was be acknowledged for being intelligent, but really they're not going to do it all on their own. So they might go, well, I know what to do, but I just need someone to help me do it. I'm not really going to do it. Oh, okay. So then you want me to just hold you accountable to it. I do. Boom, we're back on track, you guys. We're back on track. They just want accountability, and they just wanted to be acknowledged for being intelligent. Some people have personalities like that, where if you don't acknowledge that they know something, they're not going to let up. And so you have to just say, wow, that's really good. I'm impressed that you know that. You really understand a lot about fitness. I almost feel like you should be my coach. I don't know how much I can do for you. What? Oh, no, but I just feel like I just need accountability, or really it's diet, or really it's like I know a lot, but I feel like there's more to learn with barbell. Whatever it is that comes up, if you point it out, you shine a big old light on it and you go, hey, this is what's going on. You sound like you know what you're doing. But instead, we get into this letting them talk over us because we're freezing because it's uncomfortable. We let them just keep going and just move, and we try to finish because we're trying to get out of there, or we fight them and we go, well, technically no, because da 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 da. And now what you're telling them again is, you think you know, but you don't know shit, which may be true, but that person is not going to sign up, and the whole situation is still uncomfortable, right? So what I'm trying to get you guys to understand is you can make this a little more comfortable for yourself if, instead of freezing and instead of fighting and instead of flying, you just put a light on it. You just say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm noticing. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. That's the last thing I want to do. I just want to help. I really don't want you to feel weird or terrible or uncomfortable, or, whatever it is, right? Because again, you guys, every once in a while, people are just a little different, a little strange, you know, to us at least. There's so many different kinds of people in this world, and this technique, even though it's not it's not going to solve all of these situations. It's not going to guarantee that people sign up. It's not going to guarantee that people change their behavior. It doesn't guarantee anything. It's just an extra tool that helps you just deal with a few more people in these weird situations that come up every once in a while. Personal training is very personal, and personal training, one-on-one training, requires you not to just deal with the body, but deal with the individual themselves, right? And again, this is the purpose of the personal trainer hustle. We have to talk about the realities of what the job is. The job is not just, okay, we're going to do 4 sets of squats, 10 reps. We're going to add 5 pounds. Okay. But that is a person under that bar, and that person has their own attitude. They have their own personality. They have their own sense of humor. They have their own likes and dislikes. They have their own political beliefs. They have their own spiritual beliefs. They have their own intellectual beliefs. They have their own educational level. They have a different intellectual level. They have different food preferences. They have different partner preferences. They have different style preferences. I mean, I can go on, and you can mix match however you want all of these things. So there's a person there. So the best I can do, I can't show you how to deal with every individual person. I have not met every individual person, and I never will. But this is a very simple tool that has helped me get beyond certain situations. Okay. Now it's up to you to try to practice it. It's not easy, but you want to learn to just, if I'm noticing that this is a little uncomfortable, start thinking, what's the nicest way possible that I can bring this up? I can shine a light on it, right? If this person is acting real smart, let's talk about how smart they are. If this person's acting real shy, let's talk about how shy they are. If this person just wants to get a free session, let's talk about how much free shit we can give them, right? Whatever it is, acknowledge them, agree with them, be kind to them, honor them, give them the best you've got anyway, and you're going to open the door for that person to be more receptive to you, right? Because the moment you acknowledge it, they're going to feel seen instead of feeling like you're just going through the process so you get to the end of it so you can sell them training. What's actually going to happen is they're going to be more open to this process. They might even ask you how much the training is. They might even tell you later that you made them feel comfortable, right? Man, this is so crazy, but like it happens to Sean, it happens to me. But sometimes people that really came to us like they didn't really like us, they sign up for training and now we're their favorite person. And at first they were acting like they hated us. At first they were acting like they didn't want to be here. At first they gave us a hard time. Oh no, that feels uncomfortable. This feels uncomfortable. I don't want to do this, right? It was really weird. But because you're patient, you listen, you acknowledge, you talk about it, you put them at ease about it, you're just honest with them. If you really want to do cardio, I don't think I'm the coach for you. Whatever it is, if you're honest, if you have these people, even though they seem difficult at first, they end up being your biggest fans when you apply what we talked about today, when you talk about it, when you honor it, when you point a light on it, when you get through it, when you figure it out, when you let them know like that's perfectly okay. You do know a lot. You don't know it. You don't know that much. You are shy. You are hyper. Whatever it is, again, it's just a practice, you guys. And hopefully from today, you can start seeing it. What's difficult about a lesson like today is these situations don't happen every day. And so by the time it comes around again, it's going to catch you off guard again. Okay. So it's important that hopefully you make some notes or maybe you practice with another trainer in your circle. Okay. I want you to just kind of hold back a little bit. Let's see how I can, right? Because you guys, role playing these scenarios is going to be one of the best things you could ever do. You have to replay it. You have to play it in your head. You have to practice it with another trainer. You have to practice it before it happens because in the moment, it's going too fast. You might say the wrong thing. The best thing you can do is rehearse it. Either when you're driving, rehearse what you're going to say if somebody's being quiet, what you're going to say if somebody's, or practice it with another trainer, right? Share the podcast episode with them and say, hey, I want you to practice this with me. I'm going to ask you questions. I want you to be a little reserved. Don't tell me. And I'm going to try to figure out how I can put a light on it, right? How to, because it's going to be a little tricky. How do I say, hey, I feel like you're not sharing with me in the nicest way possible, right? I feel like you're not into this in the nicest way possible, right? So we're going to try that, or you can try different scenarios. Okay. Your trainer friend comes and they're going to go, I just want to do my free training session. Okay, what do you say? You could even bounce ideas off each other. You know what? You could say this. You could do this. Okay, cool. I'm going to try that. Okay, now let's reverse it. I'm going to be the client. Okay, try the thing I tried. Okay, it does work. That sounds good. Let's try that. And that's the only way you're going to develop, okay, is to practice these things. You don't want to wait until it happens because it might not happen tomorrow, okay? And so it takes a little while. But again, being a personal trainer, being a successful personal trainer takes a while because you have to learn many, many, many little lessons like this throughout many, many months. I'm being kind. The reality is many, many years of seeing different scenarios, meeting different people, training different people, having different situations come up, good ones, bad ones, great ones, terrible ones. It all has to happen to you. I'm just trying to give you a little tool you can use so that you don't just get blindsided by these weird scenarios where you just feel like something is off with this customer coming in. All right. So that's today's episode. We had to do this one twice. If you guys saw the IG post, my mic had turned off. That's what happened. That's literally all that happened. I guess when I moved it to come to the studio or to go back home, whatever I did, it just turned off. Something so simple, so stupid. But you live and you learn. So that's today's episode, you guys. I didn't shout out the IG folks. You guys been getting follows and messages. We're still getting messages on Instagram, new Instagram account for myself, for the Personal Trainer Hustle, at Personal Trainer Hustle. That's it. At Personal Trainer Hustle. That's me. You guys, everyone that's been following, everyone's that's been sending the DMs, just saying thanks, saying, you know, whatever they've been going through, right? Telling me a little bit about themselves. Keep those coming. I've been logging on, making sure that I get back to everybody that's messaging me. So hit the follow, send a message at Personal Trainer Hustle. And then, of course, send in your questions to personaltrainerhustle.com. We'll turn them into an episode. I'll answer one of your personal questions on one of the upcoming episodes. All right. So let's hit those follows. Send me some messages. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.